Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sujeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Karta Radha Karta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpadarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyat Deshatarini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate giram yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna devotees. So today's shloka for the day is shloka number 27 from the 6th chapter. Prashantamanasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutamakalmasham prashantamanasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutamakalmasham prashantamanasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutamakalmasham. Please recite after me. Prashantamanasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutamakalmasham prashantamanasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutamakalmasham prashantamanasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutamakalmasham. Word-to-word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki Prashanta. Peaceful. Fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna.
Fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna.
Manasam. Whose mind. He
He
certainly,
certainly
enam,
enam
this,
this
yoginam,
yoginam
yogi,
yogi
sukham,
sukham
happiness,
happiness
uttamam,
uttamam
the highest,
is the highest
upaiti,
upaiti
attains,
attains
shantarajasam,
Shantarajasam
his passion pacified,
passion pacified
brahma bhutam,
Brahmabhutam
liberation by identification with the absolute,
liberation by identification with the absolute
akalmasham,
Kalmasham
freed from all past sinful reactions.
free from all past sinful reactions.
Translation: the yogi
Yogi
whose mind is fixed on me
whose mind is fixed on me
verily attains
attains
the highest perfection
highest perfection
of transcendental happiness.
of transcendental happiness.
He is beyond the mode of passion.
He is beyond the mode of passion.
He realizes his qualitative identity
His qualitative identity
with the Supreme,
with the Supreme.
and thus he is freed
And thus he is free
from all reactions to past deeds.
from all reactions to past deeds.
So here, the Supreme Lord is telling us what are the symptoms of achieving this state of being united with the Supreme Lord. The perfection is actually transcendental happiness. So oftentimes devotees are anxious to know, are they progressing on this path of Krishna consciousness or not? And we all want to know, are we moving in the right direction or not? So one way of understanding whether you're moving in the right direction or not is that you experience this transcendental bliss. And a devotee always sees Krishna, hears about Krishna, speaks about Krishna, thinks about Krishna, and in this way they are experiencing bliss. So in the previous two shlokas, we heard how the Lord is saying, one need to gradually move the mind away from material desires to rest on Him. And when the mind is rested on Krishna, it experiences transcendental happiness. And Krishna is saying, when you experience this transcendental happiness, you also recognize one more thing, that you are actually part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And the qualities that you possess are of the Lord. And thus, Krishna is saying, you become free from the reactions of all past activities. So this is a yogi. So your mode of passion is actually subdued. So when the mind is shifting its attention to Krishna, it should experience serenity. So the mind, when it slowly shifts its focus from material desires to the Supreme Lord, it's going to experience serenity. And then the mind naturally runs towards Krishna all the time. Earlier, your mind was running away from you. But now we said, initially one may have to artificially restrain the mind, but the better solution is to retrain the mind. So earlier we've spent many lifetimes, and in this lifetime, many hours not thinking about Krishna. So definitely it's going to be difficult for us to simply switch the mind to think about Krishna all the time. So as you saw in yesterday's shloka, the Lord uses the word gradually, step by step, which means this is not something that happens overnight, but we should be committed to the process. So when your mode of passion is subdued, then your mind is at peace. It experiences serenity when it's connected with the Supreme Lord. And therefore, your mind naturally now runs towards the Lord. In what way? You always want to see Krishna. You always want to hear Hari Katha. You always want to speak about Krishna. And then in this way, you're always thinking about him, which is what the Lord wants, right? The first instruction of the Lord is always think of me. But if you cannot think of him, he says, become my devotee. If you can't become his devotee, he says, worship me. If you can't worship him, he says, bow down to me. So his preference is that we always think about him. Now, one may say, well, that's quite selfish. Why should I be thinking about somebody else? What's wrong if I think about myself? Well, the benefit is multifold. What is the benefit? You experience bliss by thinking about Krishna. And by thinking about Krishna, the added bonus is that all your past karmic reactions are being wiped out. So any which way you look at it, it's a win-win-win-win-win situation for all of us. So this is what Krishna wants us to do. He wants us to think about him always. But he also recognizes that it is a gradual process. It's not something that happens overnight. But we have to be committed. So if we're committed, we can experience this bliss. And your mind can be at the serene place.